What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, August 15th, 2019. Thank goodness it's Thursday, or sure happy it's Thursday, sure happy it's Thursday, sure happy it's Thursday. I'm going to start off, first of all, a couple of things. I'm only doing hour number one of the show live today. The last 2 hours will be a rebroadcast, and that's because the movers are here. And as soon as I do hour number one of this show, I have to rip all of this studio setup apart, the mixers, the mics, the cables, all of it, because they have to pack it all up and put it in the truck. And I'll be using that laptop setup that we tested from Kauai for the foreseeable future. And the other thing I have to tell you is just how incredibly exhausted I am trying to do the website, trying to do the radio show, and trying to do get ready for the movers. So if I sound a little punchy, that's the reason for that. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. And getting right on into it, of course, what a wild ride on the Dow yesterday, 800 points down. Now, it's... the Dow is up, I think, 130 today, but I think a lot of people are getting really, really spooked about the market. And, of course, the other big news, of course, this was breaking just last night. The autopsy results have finally come out for Jeff Epstein, and we are being told that Epstein, or at least the body that we are told is Jeff Epstein, had several broken bones in the neck, including the hyoid bone, which is more consistent with homicidal strangulation than with a suicide. Now, we're being told the official story is that Epstein tied a sheet to his bed, got on his knees, and then leaned forward to strangle himself. Now, that's kind of a very weird story in and of itself, because as soon as Epstein lost consciousness, he would have rolled over onto his side, and the sheet would have relaxed. So that one doesn't pass the smell test either. But now they're saying that, yeah, more than likely he was murdered, or whoever we're being shown as Epstein was murdered by strangulation. And that explains the story coming out of CBS, that screams and shouts were being heard from inside the jail cell. Now, a lot of people are wondering, is Epstein still alive? We don't really know. The big question is, we have been lied to so much on this story. We don't know if that really is Epstein or somebody who just looked like him. There were reasons to think it might be somebody different, and that Epstein is off playing canasta with Ken Lay in the Caymans. Certainly somebody in Epstein's position had to have dead man switches, and unless all of those dead man switches were located and disarmed, it would be very foolish for somebody to kill him. But it's, you know, if they're going to smuggle Epstein out of the hospital, they needed a convenient dead body, and that may be just who was shown on that gurney. Again, we don't know, but we do know the official autopsy of the body that was pulled out of that jail cell is their broken bones in the neck, consistent with homicidal strangulation rather than self-suffocation here. Now, Jeff Epstein's body has been released by the medical examiner and claimed by an unidentified associate. So this was coming out of NBC News here. The question is, where does it go from here? Does it go for cremation? Is it going to be buried very quickly in a closed casket ceremony? And another story that's coming on out here is that these prison guards who were supposed to check on Jeff Epstein every 30 minutes apparently fell asleep on the morning he died. And then they falsified the records to try and cover their mistake. My question is, were they drugged? Did somebody put something into their Coca-Cola or their coffee to knock them out for the required time necessary to carry out this murder, substitution, whatever it is that happened? So this is definitely a saga, the Epstein saga. And apparently the warden of the jail where Jeffrey Epstein supposedly died has already been reassigned to a new job on orders of Attorney General William Barr. So that's definitely going on out there. Okay, Epstein, interesting story from Zero Hedge. Epstein is the deep state civil war's first high-profile casualty. At this point, a lot of people are saying that, yes, he was part of the deep state. That's why he got off with a relative wrist slap down in Florida back in 2008. And now the wet work is beginning. And I know a lot of people are looking at Ghislaine Maxwell and wondering, I mean, she's got a new respectable life living with this CEO and trying to have a normal life, but she's at risk because of what she knows. And so are all the victims. Those victims know things that could be damaging, and they need to be protected. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And again, a quick reminder, only hour one of today's show is live. The rest are going to be a replay because I got to get this machinery all packed up for the movers. So interesting little story coming out. Again, Zero Hedge. Epstein's death may be a turning point in the public's willingness to accept the official bovine excrement. Because, you know, we are being told, oh, we're suicide. Anybody says something else, it's a conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat. And here we are with the medical examiner saying, no, it looks like he was murdered. And so once again, the corporate media has taken a major hit in its credibility, that it was out there pushing the official story, and the official story isn't lining up with the facts. The reality is that a lot of people wanted Jeffrey Epstein dead. Pardon me. And even Jeffrey Epstein probably wanted Jeffrey Epstein dead, as long as the real Jeffrey Epstein would be alive someplace in Israel or the Cayman Islands here. Down there singing, thank heavens for little girls. Anyway. Now, a lot of people are still scratching their heads about the website 4chan, where a first responder, or somebody claiming to be a first responder, posted about Epstein's death more than 30 minutes before it was made public on the corporate media. Now, the Fire Department of New York has reviewed the information, and they're saying it did not come from their department. So there's a big mystery. Who was it who knew that Epstein had been killed and put it out there 30 minutes before it was officially announced on the corporate media? And the lawsuits are flying already. There's, about $500 million in Epstein's estate, and his victims are starting to sue like crazy. Apparently, Jennifer Araoz has filed papers to sue Epstein's estate, along with his associate Ghislaine Maxwell and 3 female staffers Wednesday for allegedly enabling the sexual abuse. And apparently a lot of the information that was being released by the courts is already becoming made public. And some of it is a little bit out there about how they were grooming the girls and, forcing them to watch other girls having sex with Epstein and Maxwell and other celebrities to sort of get them used to the idea or make it more exciting for the client. Meanwhile, of course, in the collapse of the Russiagate story, everybody's still trying to point fingers. And the one place that everybody is studiously not looking is Seth Rich, because technical analysis of the files released to WikiLeaks show they were not hacked over the internet. They had to be copied to a high-speed flash drive and walked out the door. And Seth Rich, of course, was gunned down in what we're told was a botched robbery. They're saying it was botched because nothing was taken. He still had his wallet. He still had his watch. He still had his cell phone. Apparently, he was wearing a gold chain around his neck. But as soon as he was killed, the WikiLeaks information flow stopped. All right, we have a caller on the line, Tom in Florida. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael, this sounds like a Seth Rich little deal with Hillary. Could be behind this Epstein nonsense. It sounds like a bunch of nincompoops getting away with craziness, like with Comey and Hillary getting away with all the nonsense they've been getting away with. But one more thing, Michael, and I'll let you go because I'm kind of a little busy. But listen, this thing was going on with. Did you hear about Anderson Cooper? Cooper, up the poop chute, Cooper.
Yep.
Did you hear what he said the other day on his show?
About how he's looking forward to seeing a time when whites are no longer the majority in America?
Absolutely. I can't believe that guy. These guys are not news anchors. These people are pundits for the Democratic Party, for the leftists, communists. All these people on CNN, Mad Al, Mad Cow, and all these Pooper, and all these, even that freak on Fox News, what's that guy's name? Shepard Smith. All these guys are talking heads for the Democratic Party. It's a disgrace.
Yeah.
But Cooper, to say that, he ought to be hung for that. He should be quartered, that jerk Cooper, the pooper, that freak show.
Yes.
I can't believe a guy can actually be on air talking to millions of people saying that. He should be just like Michael. I still haven't seen Trump arrest no mayors. I haven't seen the feds arrest no mayors for the illegal invasion.
Nope.
I don't think you'll ever see it.
No, the New World Order is definitely moving forward. Globalism is moving forward. They're just trying to blur us all together. And the fact that we're seeing violent attacks and rapes and crime in general going up with the influx of the migrants is apparently considered a small price to pay for the glorious goal of a one world government, one planet, one private central bank, one government, one central bank, one slab of cement.
Absolutely. Look at Philadelphia last night, 6 cops shot. Now the media don't even want to talk about it after today. It's over with. But the other thing went on for a week, 2 weeks. I mean, it's all they control. Whoever controls the media controls the mind. Ted Turner said that when he started CNN, and he knew, and he was a freak himself. But this whole thing is a big cabal. That's all it is, Michael. A giant cabal.
Yep.
And look at the ICE. What was that in Oregon? They threw a fireball at the ICE headquarters.
Yep.
Can you imagine if it would have been the DNC headquarters? They'd be screaming their heads off for the next 6 months. But since it's ICE, you don't nobody reports it except Fox News and One American News. One American News is the only one that talks about it for hours. And they talk about like the immigration invasion. This is all these schmucks are controlling our media. And they're not, the majority is not controlling the media. That's the problem here. The majority is not ruling like it should rule. They're always supposed to be the same, Michael. Majority rules. Well,
yes.
That ain't happening in this country. Majority is not ruling. It's not ruling, even with guns or nothing. It's not ruling. We're letting a minority, the asphalt's telling the gasoline what to do. That's all I can tell you. You have a great show, Michael. Thank you.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open.
Telling the gasoline what to do.
Okay, now here's an interesting story. The 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has reinstated North Dakota's voter ID requirement. Well, that's a good start. We need to see more of that. You have to show ID to drive a car if you're pulled over. You have to show an ID to buy tobacco and alcohol. You have to show an ID to do all these things. And yet for voting, which is one of the most important things American citizens can do, they're saying, oh, no, you can't ask to see an ID. That's racist. You're being racist here. It's because the Democrats are counting on the illegal immigrants voting next year to capture more of the Congress and possibly the White House itself. It's just outright election fraud. And I can't understand why Trump isn't addressing that issue. Because, it's his job. He will not get a second term if the illegal immigrants, 26 million of them, are allowed to vote. Okay, over at blabber.buzz, they have a story where Senate Democrats have literally issued a warning to the Supreme Court saying that unless they heal themselves, interesting choice of phrase, they will face restructuring. And what the restructuring is going to mean is they will add more justices to the bench and then work to put liberal justices in there. So this comes down to literally an ultimatum for the Supreme Court to vote liberal or else. Okay, apparently interviews contained in a letter and transcripts are showing that the FBI was completely indifferent to the possibility that foreign nations were hacking into Hillary Clinton's private email server, and the State Department was working to protect her. In fact, State Department officials sought to downgrade the classified material found on the server so they could say, oh, no, that's not really classified. It used to be, but we've downgraded. It's not really classified there, so she's not in violation of Title 18. Talk about an untouchable. Talk about the deep state here. Over at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign, interesting little fact has shown up. She's getting a lot of money coming on in, but not from her own district. In fact, according to Federal Election Commission records, donors from her own district are nearly non-existent. So where's she getting all of this money from? All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Joe in Tennessee, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, whenever we have protests in this country and the protesters start blocking highways and bridges, I always lose any kind of support I might have for them because it's just hurting the little guy, the middle class guy, the guy going to work. You're not hurting the elite, the ones that are causing the problems. And when I see what those Hong Kong protesters are doing at the airport, it really makes me have no sympathy for them. You know how many people get inconvenienced when you shut down an international airport like that?
Oh, yeah, it's a major problem.
And then here they are singing the American anthem and waving American and British flags, the same country that brought opium through Hong Kong into China. So could you imagine being a Chinese peasant? All those poor people in China, they all have TVs. The one thing that the government makes sure they have is TVs. And they're sitting there watching these spoiled rich brats in Hong Kong, a country that, flooded the peasantry and the poor people with opium. And they're waving the flag of that colonial power, Britain. And, I could just imagine how infuriating it must be for a Chinese nationalist. And I think they're playing with fire. And I'm not, I'm sure we're going to hear the media and all the political class whining about the protesters when the army comes in. But I'm not gonna, because like I said, I try to look at both sides. And like I said, the people in Hong Kong live very, very well. They probably live better than we do in this country. The food's great. It's a beautiful, wonderful country. I've been there a lot of times. It's magnificent. But they're really playing with fire. They're acting like a bunch of spoiled freaking brats. And to be waving the flag of other countries and singing their anthem, just put yourself, like I said, in that Chinese peasant's place. He must be calling his local politician, telling them, get down there and beat their asses, because that's what I'd be saying.
Well, I think the reason Xi Jinping has shown restraint to this point, I do know that there are a lot of Chinese forces massing at the border of Hong Kong, is he understands the optics are going to be bad. The world still remembers Tiananmen Square, and Xi Jinping is still hoping there's going to be some kind of a nonviolent resolution to this. But you're absolutely right. This thing is being fanned up to be more and more of a problem, and China is convinced that this is a U.S. color revolution. Anyway, Joe, thank you for the phone call. We need to take a break for commercials. Back with another phone call after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go back to the phones to Robert in California. Aloha, Robert. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I hope the move is going well.
Oh, boy.
Hey, don't worry. Once you get done with it, you're going to feel a lot better. But in the middle of it, you're going to feel like just somebody dropped a ball on you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, and you know, we're moving literally a quarter of the way around the globe, and it's one thing to do that kind of move when you're in your 20s, 30s, or even 40s, but Claire is 70, and I'm coming up on my 67th birthday. She's got a bad back, and you know, I'm not the man I used to be, to put it politely. So. It's been very difficult. We've been able to hire a little bit of help, but not a lot. And so, yeah, we're way behind where I wanted to be at this point.
Well, don't worry. You've got a good heart, and she's got good music. I think you two are going to make it in one piece. Hey, there was a reason for my call today, and it happens to do with ID. So I hate to back you up 2.5 callers, but I wanted to talk about ID for a minute. Do you mind?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it so happens that I haven't had an ID or driver's license or anything for about 12 years now. And, you know, I did it by choice. My driver's license expired, and I chose not to renew it. And, you know, it's made life into a hardship for me. I haven't been able to hold a bank account. I can't order anything online. I can't get a credit card. I can't drive a car. But you know what? It's been freeing in so many other ways. And I just wanted to ask you one question. For other people that might be in my position, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, what do you consider our voting rights? Should we have the right to be able to go in and vote without the ID that we so represent ourselves against, or should we be cut off from our choice in democratically elected America? Just saying.
Well, in those states where
I know that's a hard question.
In those states where voter ID is required, obviously you're not going to be allowed to vote because you cannot prove that you are a legal U.S. citizen.
How do you feel about that?
I feel that
if
unfortunately in our society,
I have the right to vote, but I've chosen not to get an ID. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I said again, Robert, we live in a society where a certain amount of ID is required, and that's just a reality we'll have to live with. I have a driver's license. I have the tuberculosis card that I got when I was teaching at UH Manoa. I have a few credit cards, and I have obviously my Medicare and my supplemental insurance cards as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have a lot of things in their wallets. I happen to not even have a need for a wallet, and I'm still getting by just fine.
Well, good that you're able to do that.
But
again, if you live in a state that requires you to show an ID to vote, you're not going to be allowed to vote.
Okay, no, I appreciate your time. That's a good perspective, and I appreciate your forthrightness. You're probably right. It's kind of a screwed up thing when all these illegals can come in and apply for driver's license, and suddenly they get the chance to vote. But if I choose not to have one, as per my American right, then suddenly I'm not allowed to vote anymore because I don't fit the perspective. I just kind of find it funny. I just wanted to call in, bring that to people's attention. And I've resigned myself to the reality of this a long time ago. I'm not fighting for perspective here. But I just wanted to bring it to people's attention that there are those of us out here, much like Art Off the Grid, or maybe even like John Stadtmiller himself, who chooses to live somewhat outside the system. There are some certain difficulties that we have to surmount on sometimes a daily basis. And I just wanted to bring that back into the perspective, and I appreciate your time. So I'll take any kind of response you have off air. And you have a great day, guys. I hope your move goes well.
Thanks an awful lot here. And again, Robert, as I said, we live in a society where a certain amount of ID is required just to get through ordinary everyday life. To buy tobacco, to buy alcohol, to vote. And frankly, if you are caught operating a motor vehicle without a driver's license, you could find yourself in some very serious situations. Okay, we're going to go to David in Iceland. And David, I'm going to have to take you through the next commercial break. What's on your mind?
Hello. I just want to tell your listeners that we went through a big financial crisis here in Iceland. And I hope no one, has forgotten that.
Okay.
And if you remember, a lot of bankers went to jail, and that's something that changed. I think Iceland is the only country in the world that has put the bankers in jail. So,
yes, and we applaud you for that. We wish we had some of that here.
Yeah, I think it probably will. I just want to tell your listeners that since we've been through this, and everything is okay. I mean, your kids are fine.
David, I got to put you on hold. Yeah. We're going to let you go. We'll bring you back after the commercial break. Aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And if I sound like I'm out of breath, it's because the movers got here earlier than expected. They weren't supposed to be here till noon. So I'm going to clear these last few phone calls, and then I'm going to have to basically turn it over to a rebroadcast. And we were talking with David in Iceland about the recession.
Yeah, I just want to tell your listeners that they don't need to worry, if they're afraid of, the financial crisis that is probably coming next. And because, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and like we had here, it's been even better than ever, before. So your listeners, when they get hit by the news and everything is in panic, and you can get mixed up in this panic news that everything is going to hell. It's not what we had here. Quite the opposite. I just want to tell your listeners, it's quite good to have a recession, and the banks collapsing. And if Deutsche Bank is going to collapse, I think Deutsche Bank is now 10 times of the German people, of the GDP of Germany. So if that bank is going to collapse, and I think it was the seventh biggest that got a loan from the central bank and Ben Bernanke in congressional hearings said, who got the loans, who got the money, and he said, we're not going to tell you. So this is, it looks bad in a way in a moment, but after it's all done, it's going to be a lot better. So I hope your listeners will give you a little bit of extra, $1 to $5 or something. All the listeners that are listening to Mike now, I hope they give you something to help you to move back to America or to Indiana, and I hope it's not as bad as it looks. It's all fake money that's going around in this banking system.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And yeah, we can use any help from our listeners right now regarding our move, because we were just informed by our bank that a large check that was sent to us from Nevada has bounced. And so we're kind of a little upset about that. Once again, we're running kind of short here, and we can use all the help that we can get. Anyway, David, thank you very much. We're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, that's actually I wanted to talk about. Dave from Iceland. Yeah, the 2008 crisis hasn't ended yet, and it's going to be worse than the last time. It's going to be, because you just mentioned Germany. If Deutsche Bank goes, we'll have a depression in the world.
Yes.
Like all the banks in the world are linked together. But Mike, did you see the second quarter? Germany, they only had 1,000 jobs added to their economy. I mean,
yes,
they're in trouble. And also now you got Angela Merkel. She's all they have infighting over in Germany. And Germany is supposed to be the biggest economy in Europe for the EU, so they're in trouble. And then back over here, the stock market's all wishy, going up and down. And you got, did you hear about General Electric? They might be running a Ponzi scheme, the $40 billion Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
Unaccounted for. And and Boeing with the Max plane. So we got a lot of freaking problems going on, and it's all going all at once.
Yes.
And the stock market yesterday was 800 points down.
Yes.
Today it was up 90 or whatever. But and Mike, it's all under Trump's watch. Did you see he came out on Twitter and he says he mentioned the inverted yield curve. I never heard a president mention like that in the history of presidents. He actually mentioned an inverted yield curve. He's like, this is crazy. And then he was ripping on Jerome Powell. He put Jerome Powell in, didn't he?
Yep.
Mike, he also put, because with what's going on in Hong Kong, this is to Joe in Tennessee, Trump, what's going on in Hong Kong is Trump's the president. Why is he allowing this to happen? These protests that are being stirred up by the State Department, like Obama did in Ukraine with the coup, so this is not good, everybody. I just wish Trump would just stop the wars, just tell everybody the truth about everything. I thought that's why I voted for him. I thought we were going to come clean. Mike, I thought everything was going to come out, at that time. I was cheering for him, and I say again, nothing's changed. It's the same system we have and the same people in charge. Epstein's dead, then now dead, or Epstein walked. But what's changed? There's more bodies or missing people, or I don't know. All right, Mike, have a good show and good luck on your move.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. And I think what's changed is definitely there's a lot more chaos in our political and economic systems. Things don't feel anywhere near as calm as they used to, and it just feels like the whole world is on the verge of fracturing. I don't know if you're my age, you'll remember there was sort of a fad where you would take these marbles and you'd freeze them, and then you'd toss them into boiling oil, and they would crack on the inside, and you'd make jewelry out of them. And it sort of feels like that's what's happening to planet Earth. All right, one last phone call, and then I'm going to have to sign off here. Jim in Illinois, aloha. What's on your mind?
Michael, I'll be real quick. I think it was a major mistake for the Prime Minister of Israel to not allow those two congresswomen not to come to Israel. I think what's going to happen, you're going to find more and more people getting angry with Israel, and even people like myself calling my congressperson and telling them, don't give one dime to Israel, since they don't want Americans, Congress people, to come there because they're afraid that they might find the truth or they might criticize Israel. And Trump, he's the one that told Netanyahu to do it.
Yeah, that's the part that really pisses me off.
Yeah. So I think Israel, you're in trouble. You made a big mistake, and you're going to pay for it in the long run. So, Michael, I'm going to let you go because I know you're busy. You take care.
Yeah, thank you very much for the phone call. And yes, unfortunately, like I said, the movers got here a little earlier than we were told they were going to be here. They were supposed to be here at noon. It's now 11:15. And so I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and there's going to be a best of tape for the rest of the program. I'm hoping to be on the air with that little laptop set up tomorrow, but right now there is so much chaos going here between the movers and between, just getting everything paid for. So have a good day, and we'll be back on the air just as soon as we can.